Alrighty. Is everyone able to see the screen? Sounds good. So good evening. We are the Study Spaces team, and we are wrapping up the Study Spaces project for this semester, and we are in the implementation phase. My name is Ivy, and as mentioned earlier, I'm the project lead for this team, and I'm a junior studying marketing. I'm minoring in informatics and working on a design strategies certificate.
Hey y'all, I'm Ria. I'm a sophomore computational engineering major and business minor.
Hey, I'm Sanchi. I'm a second year arts and entertainment technologies major.
I'm Faison. I'm a junior computer science major.
Hi, I'm Celine. I'm a junior studying advertising and informatics and pursuing a design strategy certificate. And then our last team member is Maya. She's a freshman textiles and apparels major. Unfortunately, she could not be here today, but she was an important part of our awesome team. So before we kind of get into the rest of our presentation, just going over a brief outline of what we'll be covering today. So the first thing is us, the implementation team. What did we aim to do coming into the semester? What was our progress thus far? Number two, the problem. How did we reframe this problem regarding study spaces on campus? And what was some of last semester's research that influenced how we tackled the semester? Number three, our users. How did we really try to help our target audience, the UT student population? Number four, design. How do we improve last semester's Figma prototype to create a fully functioning website in Study Spaces database? Number five, user testing. How did we really tackle usability issues and what were some challenges we might have faced because of that? Number six, a conclusion in moving forward. What are our next steps and how are we really getting our site ready for launch? So like Ivy said earlier, we are the implementation team. Our key objective was to really build off of last semester's work in research to produce a product ready for implementation. And I'll be passing it over to Sanchi to discuss our project timeline.
Right, so thank you, Celine. So this is Study Spaces third semester. I know it's been going on for a while, but we've done some great work in the past, and I just wanted to cover that up a little bit and also talk about what we focused on this semester. So first semester was fall 2019, which was mainly focused on user research and had a lot of surveys and interviews. And the key insights from that semester were that overcrowdedness is a major problem and proximity is a important factor for students. And lastly, that students prefer studying at a proper study space rather than studying at home. And using this, a proper problem was created. Then in spring 2020, we conducted more observational research and we kind of narrowed it down to more specific things that students look for in a study space. And we got to ideation and created a prototype. And I'll explain this a little bit further in the next slide because most of our work this semester was based off of our research last semester. And yeah, so this semester was focused on building our actual product from the prototype that we had last semester. And this semester, we considered like a whole bunch of questions like what places and resources to include. We did a lot of research on the buildings in campus and then looked for a proper website builder to be able to display our information clearly. Yeah. So a little bit more into the research from last semester. So we did a lot of observational research, and the main things that we found out from that is that vibe, environment, aesthetic of a study space is very important to students. The resources available in the study space are also very important, and this goes from everything to like outlets and printers. And then lastly, awareness of the study space. So do students know about it? Do students know about the resources there? Then we created a user persona. His name was Dave, and he may or may not make a comeback today, so stay tuned for that. But basically, he was just a typical student on campus, and based on his needs, we created our how might we questions, which we then used to ideate and then prototype. So our idea was basically create a website which is basically a database for all this available study spaces on campus, and list like the resources available in those study spaces. And we created the prototype using Figma. And then lastly, we did user testing, which had overall positive responses, but then obviously there were multiple ways we could improve, and that's what we tackled this semester. And so based off of all of that, we created our problem statement for this semester, which was, as a UT student, I want to know all of the study spaces on campus and what they offer so that I can find a study space that best meets my needs. Basically, what is a good way and an efficient way to help students find the study space that they are looking for to do whatever work they want.
So let's reintroduce Dave. So Dave's an engineering student at UT. He spends time working on group projects and also has a lot of individual studying to do for exams. So he chooses a study space based on like what he's doing that day. So Dave has a lot of needs that he looks for in finding a study space. So he needs a quiet space that's open late because his exams require a lot of last minute cramming. He needs outlets and food so he can stay studying without having to leave to charge his devices or because he's hungry. And he also needs collaborative spaces to work with his group on group projects. So just like Dave, pretty much every student at UT has specific needs that they're looking for when they try to find a study space.
So from all of our research, we asked ourselves, how might we help UT students find a study space on campus that meets their unique and individual needs? Last semester, the team worked on building out a prototype on Figma, and this website categorized study spaces by needs. So for example, these needs would be food nearby, resources, outlets, and like study spaces by what you're doing, whether they're working on a group project or studying alone for an exam. And if you scroll down from that homepage that was shown in the previous slide, you would come across different categories. So let's say we wanted to look at study spaces based on what you're doing. Then you would come across another page that showed quiet and collaborative spaces. And we'll look into collaborative spaces. And finally, you would see a page with various study spaces based on collaboration. And as you can see, it takes the user through many pages in order to actually find a study space. So our team this semester wanted students to be able to access that information upfront and as quickly as possible. So we made a few changes. We looked for a website builder that would allow us to have less pages and clicks, and ideally everything on one page. And second, we wanted to incorporate some kind of filter system that students could use to find a study space for their specific needs. And as you'll see later, we created an emoji legend that is easy to understand. And with these specifications in mind, we decided to use Notion because it met all of our needs and it's easy to collaborate on. And on Notion, we also discovered that it allowed us to create different views of the same information, including a gallery view, a group by building view, and an overall list view. And now I'll hand it over to Ria to talk about the website.
So this is the homepage for our Notion website. Our domain name is UT Study Space, and we also have an option for a dark mode of our website for users that don't want that bright of an interface. So this is the emoji legend we put together. You can see that they're corresponding emojis under the subcategories of environment, building hours, resources, and ambience. And overall, after doing our research, we've broken up our users into two main types of students. One is a student that's looking for study space based on how it feels. So the environment, the ambience, and the comfort of the area. And the second type of student would be looking for study space based on key features that they need to complete their work and just function. So this is our gallery view. The first type of student would most commonly be using the gallery view as they can peruse through the pictures to find their ideal study space. We also have the group by building view, which would also be used by the first student. This would allow the user to go through the pictures while also letting them find a study space if they knew what building they already wanted to be studying in. Lastly, this is our list view, and while it's particularly text heavy, it does a good job in conveying what the key features are of each study space. And this would be useful to the second type of student because they can filter through the key features to find their study space. So how does Dave use this website? So Dave is looking for a place to work on his engineering project, and the project is computer heavy, so outlets are a must. And in addition, his meeting is long, so he definitely wants to grab a quick bite to eat. So he's looking for study space based on how it functions. So he parallels the second type of student. So the first thing he does is he goes to our website and he opens up the list view. From there, he filters out the categories that he's interested in. So he goes to the top right, clicks on the filter, and the first thing he's looking for is a collaborative space to work on a group project. So he clicks on the collaborative emoji that we have from our legend. From there, he adds additional filters, the outlet emoji because he needs a power source for his computer, the pizza emoji because he needs food nearby, and lastly, he's looking for a place that's indoors, so he picks the corresponding emoji and adds that to the filter. So after he filters out his results, he decides on the first floor food court at the SAC. He opens up the page, and from there he can see the building hours, more details about the building, and more pictures of the study space. From there, he finds the building name and he puts that into Google Maps, and he's ready to head there and study.
So for our user testing, we had our users go through 3 tasks, both on desktop and mobile view, because we imagined that most students would use this like on the go. So we had them first imagine that they were actually using this and find a study space that met their specific needs. And then we had them go find a study space that they've already been to verify if the information about that certain space was accurate. And then we had them go on the mobile site and also try to find a study space there, so that we could find out if the mobile site was as easy to use as the desktop site. So our goals in this were to make sure that students found the right study space, that the website was super easy to use, and that the information about the study spaces was correctly organized with the correct combinations of categories and views. So our feedback from the user testing was that the site was pretty easy to use overall. Many preferred the gallery view. In terms of accuracy, there was some missing information and people wanted to see more pictures and details about each study space. Other suggestions were to add a Control F feature since emojis couldn't be like searched in the search bar, and making the ability to sort through different views clearer, and adding more off-campus study spaces.
So this semester, our team faced a number of challenges. And first, we were a remote team, so we couldn't really collaborate in person due to the pandemic, and we were unable to actually visit the study spaces that we were looking at to take photos and more accurate notes. So instead, we heavily relied on images that we found on Google and information that UT provided online. And then next, there were many changing circumstances, such as the building hours due to COVID, and as well as less demand for in-person study spaces due to stay-at-home orders.
So before we wrap up our presentation, these are just some things that we'd like to tackle moving forward. Number 1, more user testing. We want to perform more user tests to get better insight into our students' needs, how we can better improve our site. Number 2, iteration. Based on our user tests, we want to update the site to better reflect these student demands and just continue to improve its usability overall. Number 3, our website launch. So after smoothing out all of the bumps and all the things that we've learned from user tests. We want to make sure we can fully launch the site, and how will we tackle promoting it to ensure an ease of access. And thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We'd like to open the floor to any questions or feedback.
Awesome presentation, y'all. It seems like one of our first questions is from Shamik. How did y'all choose Notion as the right platform?
Yeah, so I can take on that question. We looked at a number of different website builders, Squarespace, Wix, and a few others that our team sort of brainstormed together and took a look at. Originally, we were looking into different templates, and as mentioned before, we were looking for specific needs. So for example, that filter system that we were really looking at to make sure that people can, or students can customize the website to their own unique needs in a study space. And we just found that Notion had that filter system already implemented. And since we were sort of using, we had created a spreadsheet, like a database with all of our information and our research. It was really easy for us to move that over to Notion and build our website there.
A follow-up question real quick. Do you think using Notion presents some sort of impediment for people who don't have that app? Because I imagine if you have all of this on Notion and you want to have it on your mobile app, you're gonna have to download the app and go through the trouble of all of that. Do you think that's going to be an impediment?
Oh, Celine, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take that question. Yeah, so Notion has both a website and an app. You can choose to download the app if you'd like to, but you can use the Notion website just as well. And so I don't think it would actually prevent the users from being able to use it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
To add on to that, Celine actually found out how to sort of attach a domain name to our Notion website. So you can just like look it up on your like Safari or Google Chrome and it should pop up.
Awesome.
I just dropped the link in, Alberto.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so if anybody wants to check it out, you can go ahead and copy that into your browser. The next question comes from Shri. What led you to use an emoji legend? And then also, did you test its usability with users?
I could take that question. So after brainstorming like the different types of filter systems, we decided the emoji legend was kind of straight and to the point. It's just one character, one emoji that like represents a whole category instead of having to type all of it out. We did do some usability testing with it, and some users found it very easy to use because they didn't have to type out huge words like ambience or environment. Some other users found it a little bit hard to find the exact emoji that corresponded to the word. But I also we also took into account the idea that now most phones have the search filter in the phone on the emoji keyboard to search up an emoji based on the word in case they wanted to filter it using words instead.
Awesome. I believe the next question comes from Edith. What differentiates the solution to existing ones that offer time spaces for studying?
Good question. I'll take that one on then. So I guess this particular website is different from the ones already existing. Our team last semester looked into the one that is offered by UT, and that website is very limited in terms of the study spaces that are on it, as well as the listed resources. And it's also not as user-friendly. We actually spoke with a director, I believe, or a staff member who actually sort of like runs that website. And so we presented our suggestions to him, and he really appreciated it. So we took that sort of insight and our conversations with him to this semester.
Awesome. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I'm curious as to once this exists, like what is your hope for it? Is it everyone uses it all the time? Is it a generous gift to the UT Austin student community that people passively use? But just curious about what your team's, measures of success for, or kind of like aspirations for this might be.
Sure. Anyone on my team, or I can take that. Okay, cool. So at least for myself, and hopefully I'm not speaking for the entire team, but I would say that, yeah, I think we had identified a problem, 2 semesters ago, well, now 3. And that was a problem that existed among a lot of different students, particularly freshmen who, weren't aware of all the study spaces on campus, and therefore sort of, contributed to the overcrowdedness of some spaces versus some other ones. And I would say for the overall website, yes, it's sort of like a very generous gift to the community. We're not really looking to, um, monetize off of it or anything like that. We just really want to help out UT students, and hopefully this will be a good resource for students coming in next semester and moving forward for anybody at UT Austin.
Yeah, if I could add on to that, I think for me it'd be all of the freshmen who are freshmen right now who have not even stepped foot onto the UT campus yet. If this resource is something that they would actually use to really, I guess, learn about the UT campus and learn what buildings are where, and maybe find their best fit because of our website, that would just be, I think, extremely rewarding in itself.
As you said that, I was wondering for people who are new to UT Austin's campus, like would I don't know, not be only having traveled to UT Austin once and seeing this, so I'm not there with you, but like if a freshman is using this for the first time, how can this also link to like a map of campus, or just more identifying like during a first week of orientation of still getting your bearings, like what level of help navigating the campus could this also provide if it wanted to provide those different things? I'm really excited by this. I'm going on a tangent now, but I also wanted to say like the length of this project like is something that you should also be very proud of, I think, in regards to building off of the work that other people have done before you to iterate and refine and build relationships with your community. The longer and deeper you build those relationships, the more thoughtful your concepts will become, and giving yourself the time to expand from this semester cage of how we think about projects as college students and undergrad especially, and appreciate the length that you can spend on a project or work over to build upon it and get to where you have gotten is really, really exciting. And I'm very proud of the work that you've done, and I'm excited for this.
Thank you so much. And for all the members who have ever worked on this project.
Awesome. Are there any other questions before we move on?